scary. You don't know if you're gonna get your next meal tomorrow, and you gotta pray and you gotta work at the same time. You can't just pray and do nothing. You gotta pray and do work.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cause to Become podcast. Today we're back with me, your host, Elijah Robert-Mahdi Soto, and today we got a special guest. We are in the gym, his gym. Today we got George on here. George, you mind introducing yourself to the people, telling them what you're about?
Yeah. All right, man. So my name is George. As you introduced me, I'm the owner of 5G Athletics. I've been a trainer for a little bit over 9 years now. Got my degree from Cal Baptist University. And, I just been doing this for such a long time, man, that becomes second nature to me. About last year in July is when we opened up the gym. But previous to that, I did everything, man, from corporate, from university to private, COVID in the garage, everything. So we kind of did that. And then, we opened up the gym last year with my wife. And then here we are, man. Here we are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. I think this is a really cool time. I want to get into a conversation about you, your background more, the gym. Before we start off and kick into all the questions and everything, I want to give you a little gift here, man. It's a hat. Cause to Become hat.
Hey, man, now we got to rock this all day.
The kind of whole premise behind Cause to Become is about, people trying to be the best version of themselves. And hopefully, we can go and inspire that with having good conversations with people who are doing just that. When 100%. I came across your page online, I was like, bro, this guy's like, he's hustling, you're working, helping people. I've been a trainer for a little bit as well. And so I know what it's like and the grind. And I know that so many people, a lot of the aspirations of most trainers is to they want to open up their own gym and, they want to start it. But I think better than any how much work it actually takes. And so with that, I see a lot of people that dream kind of fizzle out. They give up on it. But the people who have the real passion for it, they're the ones who seem to stick through it. And so that's all I was just super interested, bro. I was like, we got to know your story more to see how we did it. So to kickstart it, man, I guess can you talk to me a little bit about, what was life like kind of growing up and how this whole dream came to be, So what was George's a young age?
Oh, man, I was a basketball player.
Oh, let's go.
Age, baller. Hooping since I was 11. And for real, the fitness and sports, that came from my mom. So she was a triathlete back in her country in college. So she did basketball, she did swim, and she was a softball player. So when you have a parent who really knows the sport, when we got into basketball, me and my siblings, it wasn't just we're going to go play at the park. She would nitpick our game. And then when I finally got good at it, she nitpicked me even more. I could have gone and dropped 25 points and she would have nitpicked everything I did. So it was literally just my mom raising us, just me, my sister, and my younger brother. And basically, that's where the passion of fitness came from. And so when I graduated high school, I was kind of I don't know what I want to do. Honestly, my route, I should have never been a trainer. To be honest. My route, so I was born in LA, born and raised out there. And then when I graduated high school, I was kind of going the wrong direction. I was in community college. I got kicked out. I got expelled. I had a 1.2 GPA. I was not going the direction, dude. And then my mom, at 22, my mom was like, you're going to go get a job or you're going to go get into a 4-year college. By the grace of God, I don't even know how, man, but by the grace of God, I got accepted by CBU. And so then that's when everything changed. I moved out here to Riverside. This was back in 2013. And so then I got serious with school because now I'm paying for it.
Oh, okay. So once the financial component hit, you
student loans are starting to pile up. So I was like, all right, I got to get my act together. So when I was there, I found a passion for kinesiology. I was like, when they put me inside of the athletic training department and training all the athletes and then the physical therapy part, I was in love. I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And so then I got my degree. I was working with them for about 6 months. And then when I graduated, I wanted to become a physical therapist. But because of the grades I had back in LA, and then the grades combined here, I did good at CBU. They weren't that good. So I was getting denied left and right. So I was like, you know what? I'll just apply. And then even physical therapy jobs weren't taking me, as a physical therapy aide. The one job that took me was Fitness 19 in Riverside off of La Sierra back in 2016.
Bro.
And I told my roommate at the time, this is honest, man. I told my roommate, I thought trainers were lame. For real, bro. I thought trainers were just like not it at the time. This is 2016, so
Yeah.
you don't, the fitness industry is kind of like coming up at the time.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, nah, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want to do this. And then I started working there, and then I was like, dude, this is a lot of fun. It's not just fun, but like you're helping others. I'm doing what I love, like, which is the kinesiology part, and then on top of that, man, I get to wear shorts and a shirt all day. Come on, that's easy money right there.
Yeah.
But I quickly learned that in personal training, just I'm pretty sure like you do too, is bro, the hours.
Yeah.
If you're not a morning person, I don't know how you're gonna make it.
You're up at 5 at the minimum.
Minimum 5. So then we went Fitness 19, and then from Fitness 19, I went to 24-hour fitness here in Redlands. And then from right there, I was kind of like a little fish in a big pond. Like I just seen some trainers that were like really, really good, like who were like super knowledgeable. And I'm like, dang, I don't know nothing. But, I had a lot of fun there. I met one of my best friends there. His name is Jawan. And then me and him kind of like clicked. And then we were like, hey, man, let's just move up. Let's just move up in 24-hour fitness. So then we ended up opening up the Rialto one back in 2018. Then we became managers in Fontana. And I was a fitness manager there. And it was a lot of fun. It was cool. But the one thing I didn't like, I almost left the fitness industry back in 2018-19, was because it was just pure meetings, man.
Yeah.
And it was pure like corporate.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really care about.
And like really sales driven too.
It was very sales driven, and it was very much like I don't know, man. It was there was like no passion behind like the client and everything. They just wanted like more and more and more and more, and I was like, it was getting draining. But then COVID happened, and then they let everybody go, and then we had to pivot, and then I started training out of my garage, and then from there I went to self-made. And then when I was at self-made, I was there for about 4 years, and then they made me a manager there too. And then from there, I was just stacked up my chips, and here we are, man. July of 2024, we opened up this gym.
Bro, absolutely, dude. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
That's so cool, man. Like to hear the progression and just to see like when you started off when you were young, you're like, man, trainers are lame, bro.
I don't know why. I was just like, you would go to the gym, and I'd be like, oh, okay, what are they doing, But now that I'm in the field, we do a lot.
100%.
We do a
100%.
lot.
There's a lot of, I think people don't realize the depth to which trainers really, help their clients, because it's kind of like, it's like an underserved area where you're not only helping them get fit, right, but like there's so much more. There's so many things where it's like they don't really have a therapist. They don't really have someone that they could 100%. Vent about certain things.
Right.
Maybe they're not as open with spouse about something.
Right, 100%.
Right? Yeah. Or like just maybe another dude, he doesn't have any guy friends, and he's like, hey, bro, I've been dealing with this thing, like so it's real. And I want to dive into like more of your experience with clients and stuff too. But first, I'm curious about when you were young, I guess like, what was it that kind of propelled you into sports and everything in the first place? Like what made you feel like, I know you had mom there being like, you're going to do something, but.
By
the way, shout out mom, she seems like she had the clipboard. She was like, nope, 10 assists, up
and
those
to
numbers.
this day, she'll still tell you what I did wrong.
My mom's the same way, man. I love that.
She'll still tell you. Yeah, what got me into sports, honestly, I wasn't really into sports as a kid. Until I got probably like 11 years old, like in middle school, and then basketball. I always watched basketball, but I never played it, even as a kid. And I was always like fascinated by like Jordan. Yeah. Like I'm a 90s kid, man, 91. And so I saw Jordan growing up, and then I saw Kobe and then Shaq, and then I was like, man, I got to have the ball in my hand. So then I started playing ball, and I picked up on it pretty fast. And that's what made me like stick with it, because I got good pretty fast. And then from there, I was never the tallest, so I had to be a quick guard. I had to pick up a shot, and then it was just literally just hours and hours and hours and hours in the gym. Like my mom, even to this day, she's like, I remember sending you to camps. She would send me to camps out there and just grind it out. And then something about sports, it teaches a lot, man. It teaches, it could build character for like who you are like in the future. A lot of like discipline, leadership stuff, like everything to it. And I just really enjoyed the game, man. The game, to this day, I still have love for the game, and watching March Madness and everything, But yeah, man, that's what really got me into sports. No other sport really caught my eye. you know, I had offers. I actually had a collegiate offer for baseball, and I didn't take it because that just wasn't my sport, and I didn't even play it. I was just practicing with the team one day and just throwing the ball in there, and this dude from Loyola Marymount University, he came out and was like, "Hey, I'll give you a walk-on scholarship." I was a senior in high school, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good, man." To this day, you know, I'm like, that's a full-on scholarship. I didn't even play one game of baseball. And
but he just saw the athleticism.
He just saw like how I moved on the field and everything, and I was like, nah. So my main goal was basketball, and you know, I didn't go the route I wanted to go, but it's all right. Here we are, you know.
It's cool. Well, you were saying you were looking up to people like Jordan and Kobe and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What, like, and you said you were grinding, and like, bro, where does that come from, man? Like, because you know, some people like they like hustle, they want to grind, they want to work hard, but like, where does that internal drive come from, man? You know, have you ever thought about that? Like when you're looking at Jordan and you go like, man, I want to be like that. Like, what made you be like, I'm putting in reps, 100 shots, like I'm
no, I remember there was days we were with the coaches and everything, like 8 hours, like on a Saturday.
Why are you doing that, man?
You know, and it's just, you know, and you know, like as I kind of think about like training too at the same time, like a trainer who really wants to like hustle and build up clientele, you're gonna get up early.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with like any other sport. I think it just kind of comes from there's something in there within you that you just got to be like, I want to become better. Not because of the person who's next to me. Like, I want to be better than that person too, but I want to be better than what I was yesterday myself.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's just something internally that you have to tell yourself, like, hey, like if I don't get this done, nobody else is gonna get this done. You know, my mom has a saying in Spanish. She would always tell me, she's like, "El que quiere comer va a comer, el que no, pues ya terminó." And basically, whoever wants to eat is gonna eat, and whoever's not, then forget about it.
Hey, your mom sounds like a hustler, bro. That's awesome.
You know, and so that she would always tell me that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, yeah, like if I don't eat, then I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I kept. I was hungry every time I'd step on the court or every time I was training. I remember I was at 24, and when I was at 24 Hour Fitness, they would always put a ranking list. We had 24 trainers there, or 23. And
oh, damn, that's a lot.
It was a good amount for at the time.
Okay,
This is
so
back
you
in
got some competition.
It was back in 2016.
Yeah.
And so they would put the top trainer, like how many sessions he serviced, right? And I was always like 23 to like 18 for like a good 2 months. And I was like, nah, man, I can't. So I remember I would come in there, and I would come in at 4 a.m. Sometimes I would get clients at 3:30 in the morning.
Dang.
And next thing you know, 2 months from 18 to 12 to 12 to 5 to like number 1. And then after that, like no one touched me, you know. But it wasn't even like, oh, I'm better than these guys, because there were some trainers in there that were like my mentors. It was more like, I got to grind, man. Like nobody else is gonna pay my bills.
Yeah.
And then 2, I love what I do. I love what I do, and I do what I love.
Yep.
You know, there's nothing that doesn't change. So that's why it was so exciting to me when I was first training. It was like new, and you know, I want to be the best.
That's awesome.
So it's just something inside, man. You got it or you don't.
Yeah, I think that's true. And
You
I think sometimes though, like, okay, let's take a look at with you with school, right? You were crushing it in sports, you were working hard there, you were grinding, but for some reason that same fire didn't apply to school at first, right? I mean, we're being real.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for real, yeah.
So it's like, okay, if someone judges who they are based off of just that academic performance, if they're like, bro, I got a 1.6, like 1.2, whatever, man, I'm not worth anything, I'm not good. It's like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the case, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just you got to find what it is. And when when you're looking at the leaderboards, when you're like, okay, I'm looking at the shots, I'm looking at the coaches, it's a little bit more tangible. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna grind. I'm gonna hustle. And look, you started off at 23 in the trainer list, and now you're up number 1. Now, we're in your gym now too. You know what I mean? So like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on that though, like with the school stuff. What was it about school that just didn't click, man?
Oh man.
Because I went to Brown University, so like I went to like academics and all that stuff, and coming away from it, bro, I realized like, bro, man, like the academic stuff is not the measure of a man, you know?
Right.
And so that's why I'm curious, you know, like what was it about it that didn't click for you, you know?
So when I was in like community college, I think one of the biggest things was I didn't know what I wanted to do. So like I was just kind of going aimlessly to class and just taking all these classes because the counselor told me to take.
Because at 18, you're supposed to have your life figured out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like I'm supposed to have my whole roadmap to become,
Like, bro,
X-ray technician or something, but that's not what I wanted to do, And I tried like every field. I was like, let me go be an X-ray tech. Let me see if I wanted to become a nurse. Let me see if I wanted to become I forgot what it was. That was something else I did, and none of them paneled out because I just didn't have a love or drive or passion for this, So when it came to the academic side, it just, that's a really good question because I've never really been asked that. Like, how come that transcended to training and sports and not into school?
It's clear you're successful and hardworking.
Yeah.
So
it's just which road.
Yeah.
Which road and school. When I was in community college, like I said, I didn't have a direct path, like what I wanted to do. And then, I think a lot of times, I know for me, like when I don't know a certain subject, I don't feel too confident about it. And I think that's what it was, is some of these subjects I wasn't too confident. But when I came to CBU and when I was in the kinesiology program, I was getting A's because that's what I love to do. And this is in the academic space, so I think it just really came down to like, I didn't have a passion for it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I wanted to do and who I was.
It's true.
I didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, at 18, 19, 1.2 GPA, like in the definition of society, I'm a screw up.
Yeah.
I'm going nowhere.
Yeah.
But
that's clearly not the case, and so that's why I think it's cool that you had like someone like your mom to keep pushing you, because it's like she's like, hey, listen, you could be a screw up, but you're still gonna have your bills paid, you're still gonna, you know what I mean? There's a bar, you can only go solo. But so with that, you were talking about, you said like when you're not feeling too confident about something, it's like it's hard for you to continue to push forward on it. That brings me to my understanding, my experience with clients when they come into the gym, right? Bro, how many times you see people, they come in, they don't know how to lift a dumbbell. They don't know how to do just a push-up. You can't even do a push-up or a squat, right?
Yeah.
Now they go to the gym. They buy a gym membership because, maybe they're gaining a little weight, or the doctor said, hey, man, the cholesterol's high, right? They're not feeling good. They know they got to work out for their health.
Yeah.
They come into the gym. They don't know what the heck to do. They're looking around. People are deadlifting, squatting, making noises and all this. You're like, what the heck, right?
Yeah.
So then they come to you. What do you do in a place in which they don't feel too confident? You're a good teacher, a good mentor, and you're helping them through that.
Yeah.
And then how many clients have you seen, go from not being able to do a squat to now they're out here bench pressing, squatting, all this way, right?
Man, I've seen it 1,000 times, dude. I have, there's one specific client that comes out of mind. It's a mother and a daughter. They've been with me since I first started training.
Dude.
Like 7.
The OG clients are the realest, bro. You like, man, you see me on the come up. That's cool,
Yeah, she's almost 60, man, and she's deadlifting 250.
Bro.
And it's
Hold
like,
on, I got to hit deadlifts right now.
she that was one of her goals one day.
Yeah.
One day she was like, George, I want to lift like this bodybuilder right here, right? And she shows me like a bodybuilder, and she does all this stuff, and then it's the deadlift. She's like, I specifically want to do that movement. All right, cool. So we prepped for it for like 3 months. I was like, let's get you at least a 225. Man, we crushed 225 within like 6 weeks. And she's like, let's keep going. And then I was all right. And then we tapped at like 255. Dude. And then, we keep it there. But like, I think I might bring it back, because she's like, I think I want to hit 300.
Yo.
All right, let's do it.
That's awesome.
That's
so
awesome, that's, you see it all the time.
So exactly. So that's a testament right there to her not being too confident, not knowing, coming in. And who did she meet? She met a good teacher, right? Like as a trainer, yes, you're a trainer, but another word is a teacher.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
I think in a lot of areas, because, I know you have a family, and so you're thinking about kids and education and stuff, right? So I have little sisters that are a young age, 9, 7, and 4. And so, my mom's homeschooling, and I'm thinking about how teaching them and all these things, So I think about my own experience as a trainer, and it seems like with the academic stuff, bro, you're hardworking, you're driven. This is a testament to you being successful. So, I think a lot of times it's the education system fails our kids because they don't have good teachers there, man. Look, people came into the gym not knowing, not confident, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't get those wins. They couldn't feel that success that would inspire them to push further because they didn't have a good teacher. So, in a weird way, like I feel like that's a really big thing, is that you actually became what you needed, which was a good teacher, bro.
The irony, bro.
Yeah.
The irony.
How's that all work out? That's cool,
Yeah.
man. Super cool. All right. So thinking about your progression a little more, when did you have your eyes set? Because at first you were like, man, trainers ain't even cool. But then you were like, all right, I'm a trainer. This is cool. I'm helping people. Now, when did you, through all of this, have the moment where you were like, hey, man, I want to open up my own place? Because like I said, I think a lot of people have that aspiration, but this is hard work,
Oh, man, this is... And it's still hard work.
Hey, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But when did your mind first be like, yeah, I see that vision?
When I was at 24, like I said, with my good friend Juwan, we were always talking about, like, in the break room, in the offices, like, hey, man, like, we can do something like this, dude. We have ideas for this, and that, And at the time, they're just ideas, And then COVID happened. And then when I went to self-made was when I really was like, I could really do this. Because when I went to because, for example, in corporate, anyone who's been a trainer in corporate, you don't make a lot.
I was at LA Fitness, I know.
You know what I mean? They take 80, 90% of whatever you sell. When I was a self-made, I took home 100% of what I sold.
You saw the paycheck, you were like,
I said,
hold on.
I was like, okay, let me see if I could stack my chips.
Yeah.
And then, I was training, I was enjoying, I was doing everything. And then from there, that's when I was first like, this is doable. Because then I saw some of my peers do the same thing. They were opening up their own facilities. And I was like, I could do this. Because I remember helping some of my peers like move stuff into their gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could do this. It's going to be a lot of work, but I could do this. So that's when it like really clicked, probably back in like 2021, when I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Like, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal.
Were you contemplating the idea a little bit before 21? Was it in your mind like, hey, maybe?
Yeah. I was definitely, I was definitely playing around with it.
What made you like finally get that full confidence to be like, okay, I want to set my eyes on that, to be like, that's what I'm trying to pursue. That's what I'm trying to stack the chips for. It's how I'm trying to position myself.
Yeah. So
when were you like, yo, I'm going for that?
It probably had to have been, like I said, in 2021. But what really like kind of hit me in the head, and this is no nod to any trainer or anything like that, was I didn't want to be training until I was 60.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm an independent contractor, and I don't have a retirement plan. I got to create my own retirement plan one way or another. I have some other, business accounts and stuff like that, but I was like, ultimately, like,
that's real, bro.
I was like, I have to create an avenue for retirement. And so I was like, one of the only ways, I was like, I have to open up my own gym. Like at that point, it wasn't like, oh man, it's a dream. No, it is. I have to.
You're like, I'm hungry. I need to eat.
I need to, man. I need to.
Yeah.
And so then, that's when I was like really like moving forward. And 2022, I should say, I attempted to try and open up my own gym. I attempted, and I got shot down. First I went to an investor because I was like, okay, I have a little bit of capital, but I think with some more capital, I think I can come in. And then my investor literally told me, I don't like your plan. Go watch Shark Tank. He literally told me that. And my investor, that investor was like a good friend of mine growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
But he was being real with me.
No shade.
Yeah.
It's more just like, all right, thanks for the help.
Yeah, he was being real with me. He was asking me questions that I couldn't answer.
Okay.
Like, he's like, well, what is going to be like the rate of return? How fast am I going to get back my money? X, Y, Z. And then I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
you were just like, I have an idea.
And he was like, go watch Shark Tank. And this literally what he told me. And then he was like, take some notes and then come back.
The way he said that, then the way you explained it now, that's actually not bad.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's important. So many people start out with this idea like, hey, I'm gonna go open up my gym. Cool. I got, I need 40 grand in equipment or whatever. Cool. Let's do it. But hold on, right?
Let's be real.
Yeah,
let's be real now.
Okay. So now you're shifting from, all right, I have this idea. I know that if I don't want to train till I'm 60 years old, I gotta go, I gotta go and open something that's gonna have sustainable income, build something with that can have equity and appreciate in value, and something that's like I can sell potentially, 100%. Or build franchises or chains or things like that.
100%.
So you shift from basketball to CVU, then you like really turned on the academics, then you go into being like Fitness 19, then 24, now you're doing self-made, the training stuff, you're really getting it, you're helping clients. I want to talk about client testimonies too, for 100%. Sure. And you're seeing this is real, the impact you're making. And then you go, okay, hold on, I start to see as being an independent contractor, I'm making something here. You see the way out to making this expand and grow is build a gym. So now you shift from employee to self-employed to entrepreneur and business owner now. When did that switch, right? Because he told you that's when you had to go watch Shark Tank, because what's that about? Entrepreneurs.
It's entrepreneurship.
So now you're an entrepreneur, you know? Did you ever think you were going to be an entrepreneur when you were younger? Like, did you think I'm going to open businesses?
No, not at all, dude. Not at all. Not at all.
Tell me, what's the mindset shift like when you go, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur now. I guess that's what I have to shift into.
Man, I think what any entrepreneur will probably tell you is the freedom.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but with that freedom, you know, they say you got that 9 to 5, you exchange it for a 24/7. That's the thing in entrepreneurship.
100%.
That 9 to 5 becomes 24/7.
That's blowing up all the time.
Cancellations. They want this consultation. They want to know about this and that. And then, you know, so it's 24/7. It's 24/7. But that's when it hit me, when my buddy told me, he's like, hey man, like, actually it discouraged me. It took me a while. I was like, dang, like I don't know if I could do this, you know. But then like I started watching Shark Tank. I actually did go watch Shark Tank, took some notes, and then I was like, okay, the money that I thought I was gonna need, I need double that. Yeah. I need double that. Yeah. Because then I need cushion for myself, because I need a plan for the worst case scenario.
Unforeseen stuff.
You just never know.
Yeah.
So then that's when it was kind of like, you know what? Let's run with it. I could do it. It's going to take some time. You know, when God opens the door, he'll open the door. You know, so then, you know, fast forward to 2024, I did it all by myself. I didn't need an investor. Didn't take out no loan. I just did it all myself. So I was like, I don't gotta give up equity. I don't give up nothing.
Mark Cuban, I would like 0%.
0%.
This is all me.
No royalty deal. Sorry, man.
That's cool.
You know,
man. Okay, heck yeah. So in a weird way, it was discouraging, but a blessing too.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like divine timing to some way, right?
Yeah, and it was throughout those 2 years though. Like I was always looking into commercial real estate. Yeah. It took me probably like a good 20, 25 locations before I got this one. Like I literally went in person and was like, all right, let's start negotiating. You know, I even got to the point where like, cool, I'm about to sign on the dotted line. And they're like, wait, hold on. Oh, we're getting a call from the city. Actually, they want this building. Sorry. Like legit. Wait, what? And they're like, yeah, hold on. We need you to step out for a second. And, you know, they're doing their phone call and they come back like, hey, sorry. And then I should have, man. But they were like, hey, the city is, and, you know, they got unlimited money. So they're giving us everything. Sorry, man, but deal's done. Like, I've been there. I've been to the point where, like, okay, I think this is going to cost me X amount. And then it's 3 times the amount. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. You know?
So you face a lot of setback, a lot of rejection,
Oh, man. Anybody, like, that's...
Why didn't you quit?
I could have, but I was like, I need a retirement plan. I need to feed these kids. I just had a newborn a month ago. Yeah. I need to feed these kids.
There we go. See, so there's like this thing where you're like, oh, I got this fire under me. Like, hey, quitting may be an option for some people, but I got people like that.
It ain't for me, man. Sorry, it ain't for me, man. But like, so for a trainer that's looking into opening up a gym, there's going to be a lot of shut doors in your face. If you get it on the first one, then that's cool. But a lot of times, at least a lot of trainers that I know, and even myself that went through it, you go through a lot of like rejection or, dang, I thought I needed this, but I need this, you know. Like guidance is one of the things that I wish, you know, I would have had. I did have someone in my corner who was helping me, so I'm grateful for that person. And but other things too that are unforeseen. Yeah. You know, you just got to go through it. You just got to go through it.
100%. I mean, you had to shift into. You got a kinesiology degree. I'm sure there's a lot of things that didn't prepare you for when you're working with clients. But now imagine to open up a business. So what did you do? You started watching Shark Tank, but how else did you kind of? I mean, you had to educate yourself, right? Yeah. So like, how else did you kind of coach yourself up and teach yourself?
Like I said, this one individual that I had, I consider him as a mentor, and to this day I still text him all the time. Yeah. We became really close when I was at Self-Made. And then he has his own businesses, right? And he opened up his own gym too. And I was always asking him, I would always ask him like, hey, like, what is this? What is this? You know, we would read over leases, and he legit like took his time with me, and like, he was like, hey, he would talk to me real. He's like, nah, George, you don't want to go for that deal. Like, that's a sucky deal. Like, if you do that, you're locked in for 10 years and you're going to be screwed over. All right, cool. And then that guy kept educating me, and I would ask him. And then I had another buddy who was a trainer even longer than I was, and then his in and outs. And so a lot of it was not just myself, but like the mentorship. Like,
how did you first meet those people? Because I imagine like a lot of people can be, you know, at a place like Self-Made or some type of gym, and they could just do their thing, not talk to anybody else, type of stuff, you know, get their work done. What made you go out and foster those relationships? Because that's clearly those relationships became super impactful later in your life. Yeah. So what made you go out there and shake a hand, introduce yourself, type of thing?
One of them, like the guy who really like showed me the way when it came to like basically the verbiage of commercial real estate and stuff, was actually a former owner of Self-Made, and we just became real close from the get-go. When I was introduced to him, I just, you know, he just seemed like a real genuine guy, and we would literally just chop it up like normal conversation, nothing crazy. And then over time I became close with his younger brother, and to this day, like, we always hang out, and then like it just became an organic thing to where like he was like, hey, George, you ever need anything, hit me up. Hit me up. And, you know, that's networking.
Yeah. I think it's real recognized as real, right?
You know?
Like, a lot of people try and go out there like, all right, I'm going to go network. And it's like, man, just be a good person, you know? Just don't be, it seems like just don't be afraid to shake a hand, introduce yourself, and just be a good person.
100%.
I think, because you could tell, right? You're, now, like, you meet, like, business people and things. How many people are just slimy, man? You just feel, and they try to come at you with all, like, love, and you're like, man, I don't know why I just get a weird feeling around you.
No, 100%, man. I think what I tell a lot of, like, trainers and even buddies that, like, about networking is not just creating that relationship, but harvesting it. Like, if I'm like trying to like network, let's say with you, and I'm like, hey, we do this podcast and everything, and then I never talk to you ever again, and then like 5 years from now, I'm like, hey, bro, I need a favor. And be like, huh? All right, you know, like, sure, like, what do you need? But you know what I mean, like. But you got to genuinely have a relationship with these people. You know, I think those are the best networks that you could do.
So like nurture it, you know?
Exactly.
Check in, like, hey, Merry Christmas, bro.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, bro. And like, he would do that to me.
Yeah.
That's when I started realizing that, and I was like, oh, okay, let me hit him back up too, man. Like, he's a real cool dude, you know? Yeah. And then, you know, I started hanging out with his brother, so then I would hang out with him too, and it was just normal. It was just normal. I didn't see him as like, oh, I gotta go network with this guy because I need something, you know. And then from there, like, he literally gave me free game. Literally free game, like game that like you would have to pay for. Bro. And he was every step of the way with me. I was like, bro, can you review my contract? And then when I got this place, and he would read it over, and then he would hit me back up, and he was like, change that, tell him you want this, this, and this. And I was like, all right, cool. And then, like, legit, he would peer review it.
That's cool, man.
Like, to this day, I still hit him up.
Yeah.
Like, for help.
Seems like as I've started to, you know, really talk to more people, and it seems like I have this idea of like, I really want to pursue being a confident, strong man who is of substance and capability in this world. You know, speaking to an aspect of like, you know, God is like someone who you say like trying to be like Jesus, right? And you know, he was someone who was capable, competent, kind, loving, you know, helping, giving advice and wisdom. You know, it seems like every great man that I've talked to, and great in their own respects, whether they're an athlete or building a business or whatever it is, they're always putting people on, man. They're always giving game. They're always helping people out. And I think that's really cool. I think it speaks to someone who, you know, isn't really gatekeeping. But at the same time, they're going to make you work for it, right? Like, it's a great spotter, you know?
There you go.
Right? Like, they can't just be lifting the weight for you, but at the same
your own
time,
work in.
Exactly, right? But they're going to help you so you can get that rep. And I think the great men out there do that. And I think there's so much overlap in like training and how, you know, going out into the world and being a good man. That's my pursuit, is to do that. And that's a cool thing to see, where it's like an impactful person in your life is someone who is out there giving you free game and stuff. Because I think you recognize that you're a genuine person trying to do this. You know?
Yeah, man, it's and you don't find that everywhere.
No,
You don't.
it's rare.
Yeah, you don't.
So when you
find
do
that
find it,
yeah,
don't mess that relationship
yeah,
up.
100%. Yeah, see, that's free game right there.
Yeah.
Nurture your relationships,
Yeah.
because you just never know who it might be. You just never know. And I didn't know it was gonna be him.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until like he legit was the one that went out and was like, oh, you want to do this? He's like, this is what you're gonna need. Doing. And then it went from me starting to ask him, like, hey, like, what is this? Hey, what does this mean? And then like from there, he was like, hey, man, whatever you need. Even if you need me to go in person and talk to the city, I'll go with you.
That's cool,
And I
bro.
was like, all right, bet.
That's cool. Hey, real people who just want to help the
Yeah.
world, man. That's just a cool thing.
Yeah, man, it's a good feeling.
And I think you showed it too. Like you're waking up early, you're grinding. He's seeing you work with clients, and like he knows. Because let's be real, we've all seen the trainers who go in there doing half butt jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, 1, 2. You know, man, show up on time, and just try to give a full energy
Yeah.
and effort. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure he saw in your training and your
Yeah.
work ethic and everything too that it's
Yeah.
exemplified the person that you were. So.
Yeah, I hope he did. I hope he
Well,
did.
I mean,
I
real
tried
talk.
my best.
Well, I mean, when you're looking at young
Yeah.
people nowadays, you're not like saying like, a trainer who's just starting out, 19 or something, at fitness 19, young, 19, 20 years old, like you're looking at him and you're seeing like, hey, is he grinding? Is he working hard? Is he
100%.
pushing? Or is he just,
100%.
half-assing it, right?
Yeah, no, I
So
interview trainers all the time.
Right?
Yeah, I interview them all the time.
And you know the difference.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've been interviewing.
They don't need to be the smartest, but what do you
Yeah.
look for in a trainer?
Exactly. You look for somebody who's professional, somebody who's on time, somebody who's motivating. They may not have the best, exercise science because maybe they might be starting up, but we were all there. We were all there. As long as somebody who's willing to be coached, like that's all you ask for.
Yeah.
Someone professional who's willing to be coached, is on time, and is just great with their customers.
Yep.
With their clients and programming, like that'll come. I've been interviewing trainers since 2018 when I was a manager at 24.
Yeah, so
At Self-Made, I was their hiring manager. That's what they hired me for.
Yeah.
So I was their hiring manager, and now even here now. So I have interviewed thousands of
Dude,
trainers.
at LA Fitness, I was only there for a little bit of time, but I had to interview a couple of trainers, and bro, like,
Oh yeah,
bro,
I know.
didn't realize. I was like, yo, your mom would let you come out the house looking like this. You told your mom you were going to a job interview,
Yeah.
and this is how you come.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
like at the very least, right? Just like just
Man. Dude,
clean
I've
up a
seen
little,
some,
like-
bro. I've been in interviews where like I had a person who was a trainer that was basically like an OG, like already knew their stuff. I was a 24-hour fitness, and in the middle of the interview, she's like, "Hold on, I need to take this call," and starts like talking to her friend, like about I don't know what, and she's like, "Oh yeah, really, girl? Oh okay, yeah," and then hangs up, and then she goes, "Wait, hold on," and she pulls out, at the time it was a Bang. This was back in 2018, and she cracks it open. She starts drinking it, and she's like, "All right, go ahead, continue."
You said what?
No, I was like, "Nah, you can leave.
Yeah,
You can leave,
bro.
you can leave," because that let me know a lot. That
She's
spoke
not gonna
volumes.
respect you as a manager.
Yeah, that
for
spoke
sure.
volumes. I was like, "Yeah, I'm done."
All right, a little intermission here, a little bathroom break. Gotta get it
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
But I think I want to come back to talking about like learning about your story and learning about kind of your experiences across the board and growing up and pursuing this, building the business here. I really want to get into learning about like how it's been like when you finally started pursuing, creating your own gym in your own place, man. Like, what has the journey been like doing this? What were the things
Yeah.
you learned, the challenges, what happened, because like I said, it's so many people's dream, and it's cool, man, that we're living in yours right now. And so, I want to know what it's like, the process of when you were like, I'm going for it to executing.
Yeah, so 2023. So 2023 is when I was like really like, let's go for it. Let's do it. I got the resources. Let's go. So in September of 2023, I was looking into like, okay, like what do I got to do to really make this business like legit? The first thing, like as that you have to go into is, are you going to go LLC, S corp, C corp, et cetera, et cetera. So I decided to go C corp, and so then talking to my CPA, and he's like, okay, these are the tax benefits that you're going to have. This is what you're going to have to pay every year, this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, oh, you got to pay every year for these type of things? Like, and he's like, yeah, you got to pay every year to keep it running and going. And I was like, oh, okay. And then right there, boom, $1,000 right off the bat. We haven't even got the name out the way or anything yet. Just he needs to file it. All right, $1,000, boom. All right, cool. So then September of 2023, I went heavy into like looking into buildings. Like every day I was probably, not every day, but like probably every other day or like once a week, I was like gonna go see a building. And I was going to Yucaipa, Highlands, San Bernardino, Redlands, Loma Linda. I was going everywhere. I was getting introduced to all these different, realtors and everything. And I'm hearing the deals. The first one that I was like so optimistic about was in East Highland. And it was actually that old Fitness 19. I don't know if you know.
Oh, yeah.
It was that one.
That's a solid place.
Yeah, I was so optimistic. I was like, they were talking to me nicely. They had, like, the numbers were making sense. I mean, like, there was already mirrors in there. So I was like, oh, I don't got to pay for that. The flooring, I was like, no problem. Yep. And then that's when they were like, the city. That was that one. It was that one. I was like,
oh, that's a heartbreaker,
I was like, it was a 2-week process. And then, they talk to you about, but I'm very thankful though, because that realtor, he was like, I only got like about a year left. And then, in this before I retire. So he literally, the last time that we met, he's like, you know what? You seem like a cool dude. Let's sit down and let me put you on game. Same thing. And he's like telling me like the verbiage of like how to read the contract. He didn't have to do that. Yeah. This is an OG who's literally like, man, like, don't let them do this, don't let them do this. He's like, hit them with an option. And I was like, what's an option? And he's like, you'll be able to flex the contract and you can kind of like play around. And as the owner of the building, they're gonna look at that as kind of like, oh, this guy's serious. He's probably gonna want to renew his contract. He's like, I just gotta say that. He's like, yeah, just say that. I was like, all right, cool. And then like he put more game into it too. And so then the second building I go into, I'm a little bit more aware of things, got shut down. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. By the time I was by like the 10th building, I was like, I don't want to meet with you guys. Let's just do this through email. Like I was already like sharp with it. Yep. And they were telling me what they want, and I was like, I want this. And then they're like, and I was like, nah, too bad. I'm denying them now.
There we go.
I'm like, I'm starting to pick it up real quick.
So you got that confidence.
Yeah,
now.
Like, I'm
starting. This is my money. I'm doing this. Hold on, y'all working for me to find me my place.
Yeah. So it was probably, this location was probably like at that time was like the 16th or 17th place I had gone. Yeah. And this is from September of 2023 all the way, now we're in June of 2024. So it was like a 9-10 month process of just deny. There was even like a month or so where I was like, I'm gonna leave it alone I'm gonna let it cool down and then I'm gonna pick back up. And then June of 2024, I came in the first week of June, and then they toured me in here, and then they're like, this is what we want, this is what we want, this is what we want. And I was like, all right, cool. Are they willing to do this, and this? A little free game. If you don't know, if you get a building, you could get some free months where you don't got to pay rent.
How?
You just ask them. You just tell them like, hey, I want 3 months of free rent because it's going to take me time to put my building up and for you to even get your rent. Yeah. And they're kind of like, all right. But you got to negotiate them with them too. You're like, all right, I'll stick with the lease for 3 years instead of 2. All right, cool. And so you got to give and take when it comes to this type of negotiating stuff, But
it has to be good business.
Yeah, it has to be good business. But at this point, I'm already like, I know how to talk to them now. So I'm like, this, and this. So real estate agent, she was like, all right, I'll get back to you in a couple of days. Man, she got back to me within like 2 hours. And then she was like, they want to do it. And then I was like, then I started pushing the envelope. I was like, let me get an extra month. And then I want them to take care of the AC. Yeah. Because one of the biggest things as a trainer, like when you come into like commercial real estate,
huge.
You don't, a lot of trainers don't know about commercial real estate. And one of the biggest things that they're going to pull the string on is you'll be in charge of the air conditioner. Right? The AC is worth like 40 grand, 30 grand. And if you don't know that, like, it's not in the contract and it goes out to you the second week and it's summertime, you got to pay for it.
And your clients cannot work out in 110, Like, is it
No, they make you pay for it.
No, but I'm saying it's imperative to your business.
That too. That too. So then you got your clients. Then you got to put this money up for that. And then you gotta try, and you have that anxiety and that stress of like, nah, I gotta go make this, and the business comes crumbling down. Yeah. So then I told them, I was like, oh, I want them to take care of the AC if it goes down. And they're like, they could do it for a year. And I was like, I'll take it.
Cool.
So I finally came down with the deal, everything. And then I got my keys June 14th. My birthday was June 12th. I got married June 20th. And then 2 weeks later, I found out I was having a baby.
Bro. Check and mate, bro. That's awesome.
I was like, let me just get it all done at once.
Yeah, you were like business, wife, kid, boom.
Let's do it. Let's run it.
That's cool.
So they gave me the keys. And then for like 2 weeks, I didn't come in here because I was like on my honeymoon and I got married and everything. And then once July hit, I was in here every day, man. I was in here every single day in between clients because I was still at self-made. And because I still had to pay my bills and everything, so I'm training. And then in between clients, I'm coming in here. I'm rolling out the turf. I'm bringing in the equipment. I'm buying the equipment. I'm picking it up. I had to borrow people's trucks. I had to go rent U-Hauls. I had to do all that stuff, man. I had to put down the flooring. If you ever get your own gym, I think it's a rite of passage to put your own flooring.
Of course.
But everybody told me, do not put your own flooring. Hire somebody. It is the worst task. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I was in here with one of my buddies who knows how to do flooring. It was just me and him. Just this strip right here. It was 12 hours. Bro. It was just 12 hours. We were in here from like...
looks nice. It looks nice.
Man, there's things that I see. I'm like, I didn't do a good job. But, that's just me. We were in here from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. just knocking it out the park. And then it literally was just me, my sister-in-law, and my wife that was moving everything. Bro. And we like, I got to give her a shout out because she's going to be mad if I don't. But my sister-in-law, me and her were the ones that put everything in here, all the equipment together.
That's cool. Hey, this is family owned and built, family built. I love that, man. So, with it, like, what was it like the first day you were like really done? Like, I know you want to improve to keep getting better, but like the first day when you like took a step back and you're like, all right, we're open. Like, what was that like?
Man, it's surreal. It was a Sunday, and me and my wife had just got done putting up like the bands. That was the last thing right there, and then we took a step back, and I'm like, I'm gonna start training tomorrow in here. Like, my first client is coming tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Bro, that's such a cool feeling, man.
And it was just like, I just remember telling my wife, I was like, now the real work starts.
Yep.
But I was excited at the same. It's a baby,
bro.
We're harvesting another baby. This is a baby.
That is so cool, man.
And yeah, man, it's a great feeling.
Absolutely, especially you put your hard earned. You worked for years to stack up your chips to be able to and have the investment. You garnered the knowledge. You were talking to people. You didn't know a lot about a lot of stuff, but you learned. You got to the place where you were confident negotiating the contracts. I mean, you built your understanding and your expertise of commercial real estate, entrepreneurship, all of these things. I mean, probably even some of the putting in flooring and things you had to learn.
Right, I didn't even know how to do that. I learned it that day.
Right? So, I mean, when it finally was like open, you had a client come in here, man, that must have been a great feeling.
Man,
so cool.
it was a drastic change because I was used to like working with 30 trainers. Yeah. And now it's quiet in between clients.
Like, we're going to do a superset every time. Everything's supersets. We use all of it. That's cool, man. Awesome. One of the things that you talked about in this is you talked about your wife here. And I know we haven't touched on that. What was that like, man, in this whole process of you, going from working up at 24 to self-made to open your own place? Yeah. When did you meet your wife? And how did you know she was the one, man?
So she always... I wouldn't say she's embarrassed, but every time I say like how we met, I'm okay with it. I actually met her online dating. I met her on Hinge.
We could cut it right now. We could make up a story if you want. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, I'm gonna keep it real deal, man. I'm gonna keep it real deal. Man. So we met online, and then we just started hanging out. We literally would just go to the pool hall and we would just play pool, or like I remember our first official date. She was like, hey, let's go eat boiling crab. was like, all right, cool. So we're eating boiling crab, and she's telling me,
she's cracking the glamor. You going hard the first day.
and she's telling me in the date, she says, hey, like, the reason I brought you to boiling crab is because there's no way for you to be on your phone.
That's
Because
fair.
my hands is all, I was like cracking over here. Like, okay, I'm trying to elbow it. And then I was like, all right, you got me there. I was like, okay. And so we had great conversation. And then from there, we would just hang out as like friends. We were playing pool.
Yeah.
We would go out, do all this different stuff. And one time she took me to this zip line place. And Corona.
Oh, dude, I've been wanting to go there.
It's cool. Oh. It's cool. And I was like, I'm not afraid of heights. But then I was like, now I'm on like the third or fourth, and this thing is moving. I'm like, all right, okay, hold on. But yeah, and so I built such a great relationship that it was just genuine, and I was just like, man, this is good, man. This is good. And a couple months prior to meeting her, I had like gone through my own breakup, and I was just kind of like, I know what I didn't want. I've dated in the past, and I was like, I know what I'm looking for in a woman, like someone who's just going to be genuine, someone who can laugh with me, someone I can have conversation with, someone who could check me, but someone that, I can tell her the same thing too, and she doesn't get, positive criticism is good both ways,
Just building each other up.
Exactly. Yeah. And so she had all that. And then I was like, I can't let her go. I can't let her go.
That's awesome.
And so then, we fast forward, I proposed to her, get married, and then, opening up the business, man, like she's been my rock. Like God put her there for me, man. Like I go home sometimes stressed thinking like, oh man, I gotta pay this much and this much, and she's just like, don't worry, we got this. We got this. Don't worry, like we got this. Don't worry about it. And then even she has her ideas too, where I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should have done this. Like she gives me another like outside perspective. Yeah. And then man, she's a great mother. She's a great wife. She's awesome, man.
Dude, that's so cool, man.
I couldn't do this without her. Yeah. For real, like I couldn't. Man. Like she is my therapist. She's my trainer.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
So she's
that's
all
awesome.
That to me.
It seems like a man can be propelled into a greater greatness than he ever believed possible when there's a woman who gives him the support and believes in him like that.
Oh, 100%.
Because imagine, like, bro, some days you probably don't even know. You're like, how am I gonna get this done? I don't want to tell it. I don't know. And then she's like, no, we got this. And you're like, no, we don't got this. We don't. But then you're like, okay, all right. And then you level up,
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. I hope that every young man and just every person out there could find somebody like that because again, looking at 1.2, 1.4 GPA, and then you were like, hey, bro, now I got a business. I'm an entrepreneur. I learned this, right?
Here we are.
Look at the man that you propelled into being and the people that you've helped, man. So that's super cool, man. And speaking on that point there, like, what has it been like? Because I know we talked about your story and, we talked about how you've grown here and opening the gym. Throughout all of this is underpinned by you're helping clients, right? You're working with people. What has that been like, man? Like, are there any stories and stuff that kind of stand out in your progression of people that have helped you, you've helped them? Because I think that's so important, man.
Yeah, there's actually one story early in my training career where I was like, I want to stick to training. There was one young man when I was at 24 Hour Fitness, and he was a freshman in college, and then he was like juggling like 3 jobs. He was the main breadwinner for his mom and his little sister. Like this kid is like doing it. He's a full-time student. This kid is doing it, and then he's still paying me to train him. Yeah. I'm like, okay, this kid is doing it. He trained with me for about like 8 months. And then he was like, then I think his school kind of like picked up a little bit more. He's like, oh, I'm about to take a little break, but I just want to like tell you thank you. And I was like, oh man, like no problem, like I'm here, bro. Like, thank you for being my client, And then he gets all like a little sentimental. And he was like, man, there was like, I want to share something with you. I was like, all right, go ahead, man. And then he was like, there was 3 times where I was about to commit suicide. And every single time I was about to do it, it was the day that we had a session. And I didn't want to come and disappoint you. I was like, wait, disappoint me? what you mean, man? Like, nah, bro, like you walked in here, bro, that's a win every single day of the week. Don't ever think like that, you know? And he's like, nah, just talking to you, just gave me hope, you know? And we would talk about whatever, you know? We would talk about life. We would talk about his dating life. We would talk about like what's going on, like him hustling, you know, like a young man that's like 18, 19, trying to figure out his life, and he's the one providing for his family. Bro, I cried.
Bro, you gonna make me cry now?
I teared up.
What the heck?
I teared up in front of him, and I was like, come on, man, you can't be doing that to me, man. I gotta look tough out here, bro. my red 24-hour shirt is all wet now, you know. And then he was like, nah, I'm serious, man. And to this day, like, we still talk. We still, like, you know, we still hit each other up. He sees me on Instagram. He's doing good now, dude. Like, this guy is like winning in life now.
Bro,
you know,
that's awesome, bro.
And that's one like story that always stuck out to me. There's millions of more. You know, I've had clients that have had a heart breakup, you know, a hard breakup, and then I seen them find their one and they get married, and I've been at their wedding.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, girl, I saw you, I saw you, and you did it. You know, I seen it all, man.
Bro,
I seen, yeah, man.
That's so powerful, bro. So powerful, man. Like, imagine. You know, that's where it's like something you think about with like God too, man. You know, like you know,
man.
Whatever people believe in fully is like what it is, but like you know, something's divine there, right? Like, I mean, how is it that every time it was a session, right? Every time, and because you were the person that you were, he was able to feel like, no, like I don't want to let him down. Like, you've been helping, you've been real, you've been a real person. You probably not even talking about anything crazy, too serious. You know, it's just being real, like just someone to chat with, bullshit. You know,
we're just talking about what he did over the weekend, and you know, what movie I was like, bro, you should go watch this movie. Just like random stuff, you know.
But that right there, like. You know, if you imagine if you didn't show up in your sessions with him, you're like, oh man, he's a kid, whatever. But you don't ever know what anyone's going through, man. And the fact that, you know, you were able just by the training to keep him in this fight, man, keep him in here on this earth, and now look, he's doing well in life. Like, bro, that's just the part where it's just so amazing when you're pursuing things and you're doing it with a good heart, how you can really help people. And that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, we were talking about this earlier, you know, we're not just trainers, you know, we're like teachers, you know, we're therapists. Sometimes we're people's best friends without even knowing it, man. We wear all these hats in this industry, and you know, that's what people want. You know, they may just think like, oh, I'm just gonna hire this trainer, but at the end of the day, man, you know, you just never know what somebody's going through when they go through the doors.
100%.
That's what I would always say. Like, just never know, man.
Yep. And so it's like, that's why it's always like, you know, some days even as trainers, right? Like, you know, you got the bills or things that you were stressed in life or whatever it is, and then I've always found where it's like, you know what, right before my session, I just take a minute, like. Just kind of chill, relax, because no matter what's going on in my life, this is this moment where I got to show up for this person. And being a trainer has made me a better man because I've had to step up, you know, for those moments. Like, what is that like for you? Have you been impacted better than your life by helping your clients? Because it's happened to me a lot.
Yeah, man. Like, we were just talking about this off camera, man. There's been moments where like the client helps me without even like them knowing that, like just us having this conversation. And some people are more experienced in life or more experienced in certain areas, and then you go down a rabbit hole and asking your client like, hey, what do you think about this? You know, like, oh, okay, but what about that? And you know, they're giving you the answer, and then you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I didn't think about it like that. Or you know, I'm gonna keep it real right here. As a male trainer, you ask, you know, your female clients like, hey, from a woman's perspective, like, what does this mean?
Like, yo, what this text right here?
Well, what does this mean? Like, what does it mean? I remember when I was dating my wife, and I would ask some of my clients like, hey, like, what does she mean by this? You know, like, did I mess up? Or like, what? You know, and then they would keep it real with you. You know, like, oh no, that's nothing. Or oh yeah, she's into you. You know, or whatever. You know, and you know, I've been impacted in many ways, man. Like, just seeing. Like, when you train, you see all these different walks of life. All these different professions, all these different type of people that just walk in and they gone through something different, and you can learn something from them. Just like they learn from you, you learn something from them as well. You know, and and that's what I've gotten is being a person who can communicate. Like I've learned how to communicate better.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, okay, like this person, this is how they communicate better because this is how they accept it when I'm training them, or this is what we're talking about. And I didn't know about that, you know, like this is an interesting fact, you know, different things, you know, because in training, you know, like the array of conversations
Crazy,
is
bro.
like different avenues. You can talk about, you know, you can talk about politics one minute, and then the next minute you're talking about what they did over the weekend or what restaurant they're gonna go to and they recommend, you know, all these different things, man.
You're a therapist, a relationship counselor.
Everything.
I think you should give him a second chance, Sarah. You know?
Come on, Sarah. Like, just don't look into it too much. What? Because of his teeth? Because of his teeth? Yeah, he had fished you though.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, he did.
Dude, I've had some awesome relationships with clients. Little technical break, but we're back here, and I think we've heard the story of you, like in your progression, building up to the gym, the life, the clients you've helped. Man, it's just awesome to get to hear your story of a man who's out there, and it seems like you've built components of your financial knowledge and your relationship knowledge, and you know all of these different things. And actually, the one part we didn't talk about, I didn't talk about like faith, man. Throughout all of this,
That's
man.
the most important.
That's the most important part. How do we
Yeah,
forget this, man?
Yeah.
So that's the most important part, man. Is like we've learned about all these areas, but like with your faith, man, like how has this progressed, and how has that been an impact in the things you do, the people you help, and your family and everything, man?
Yeah.
Got to know that part.
Man, you know, there's just as a trainer, as a man, as just life in general, you know, sometimes you find that like, how am I going to get out of this? Like you find yourself in that hole. How am I going to get out of this? And faith is the number one thing that gets me out of this.
Yeah.
This is my belief in God, and you know, whatever you guys believe in, you know, like you said, any divine higher up, you know, but I personally believe in, you know, God, and He's the one who's gotten me through everything. He's the one who's brought and built the relationship, helped me build these relationships with people, from clients to my wife to friends to everything, you know, ups and downs in life, you know. The Bible states there will be trials and tribulations. So that's a guarantee, man. That is a guarantee. There is trials and tribulations, and that's something that, you know, as a believer going in life, that I'm prepared for that. You know, I'm prepared for that, and that's what's going to get me through. I mean, my little pendant here is Philippians 4:13.
Yep.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, you know, and that's not just physically, but that's spiritually, mentally, you know, everything. And so to me, that's everything. And to have my wife, who's also a believer too, that's just even better.
Yeah.
You know, that it's a strong household of believers that, like, you know, when one person is down, the other person helps pick up.
Yeah.
And that's important in business, man, because it's scary. You know, as an independent contractor, as a business owner, it's scary. You don't know if you're going to get your next meal tomorrow. And you got to pray and you got to work at the same time. You can't just pray and do nothing. You got to pray and do work. You know, there's that saying that, you know, when you plant a flower, pray for rain, but don't neglect to water it.
Exactly.
You know,
meet God halfway.
You got to. And so that's super important, especially like in business owner and training. Like, you just don't know. Tomorrow I could lose all my clients.
Yep.
You know, and I got to make sure that my trust in God is in Him fully.
Well, I think you've created a place in which people who need help from someone who is like kind of fueled by a divine kind of power, you know, the Holy Spirit and things like that. Like, you know, the person, like the one story you talked about, that young man who, you know, he didn't choose to quit on life and he chose to keep going because he had to show up for your session. I think it's just without a doubt that there's an aspect of divinity in that, you know, and I think God is most definitely using you as a vessel to be able to do good in life. And I think a lot of people, as a trainer, you really have an amazing medium to be able to impact people. And so, you know, I guess to just any trainer out there, being able to anybody, like, just showing up and doing it with full force and like your full heart in it, whatever it is that they're doing. Like, how many people do you think you personally have impacted just because you were showing up with energy that day? You were showing up, you know, and speaking good words and being positive and motivating and things, you know? And that's just you being used as a vessel to do good in this world for God. And I think that's a really cool thing, man. Like, so many people, hey, we all imperfect, right?
We try.
We all mess up. We all have days where we're like, man, I don't want to do this, you know, but I think when you really get serious about saying like, hey, I want to do that, you try a little bit harder, you know? And I think
100%.
that helps you to level up as a man the same way your wife is helping you to push you to be better as a man. You know, there's this aspect when you take full ownership and responsibility of like, I actually want through my work for good and God to be seen. That's cool. So it's like whatever you do, do it well. Do it to the best of your ability. You know, and
100%.
that gets you far in life, it seems like. I mean, look at all the networks and connections. You were just working hard, being a good person, believing, having faith and praying. And, bro, you got people putting you on game, you got opportunities. Not to say you weren't working hard to match it. You know, you were working just as hard, meeting God halfway. But you were also, he's like, heck yeah, I want to bless George. Like, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, that's what faith is. You know, it's not knowing. Like, it's you know, faith is basically like the truth unseen yet. You know, I wasn't gonna know like back in 2016 that I was gonna be the George that was 2018. That was the George that was 2022 to the George that was 2025 here now, and it's just about just pushing through. You know, just keeping that faith, staying strong, and just pushing through. You just never know. You know, sometimes people, you know, you'll be in a position that, you know, you prayed for a specific job, and then 2 months in, you're complaining about it, but you prayed about it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And you're in that position for a reason. Maybe you're going to meet somebody that's going to, you know, help you 5 years from now, whatever, you know, and that's important, man. Just having good faith, and then just treating people right.
Yeah.
Just having those genuine connections, whether it be a client or just anyone that you meet.
Yeah. One time when you were like, hey, I'm ready to start this business, and then he was like, nah, man, go watch Shark Tank, you know? How much more intelligent, more knowledge do you have about business, commercial real estate, and all that? Because a part of you was like a little discouraged, right? But I'm sure you prayed about it, right?
Yeah, man.
And so God was like, okay, we got to light a fire under him, because George
100%.
seems to need a little bit of a fire to get, you know?
Man,
And then you got that fire, and now, bro, now you're out here rejecting deals. Now do it this way, put the option in, you know, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I'm sitting next to Mark Cuban. You want to go half on this deal? Nah, man. Yeah, man, it really is about that. Just because it's a closed door doesn't mean it's closed forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's probably just a redirection. You know, maybe you just got to go read up on it, or, you know, you got to go through something to find the knowledge behind it, because maybe I wasn't ready back in 2021. Maybe my business would have came crumbling down. Who knows? But God redirected it and told me to like go this way versus that way, and here we are now.
Bro,
You know?
awesome. Well, here we are now at 5G Athletics, right?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
so we got to know. How'd you come up with the name, man?
5G Athletics. So I went through a bunch of different names that I had gone through in the past, and there was one name that I had came with, and that was it's called Jubilance. Came out of the Bible, out of the year of Jubilee.
Yeah.
And I didn't go with that name because no one was able to pronounce it. Everyone would say Jubalance.
You were like, not New
No,
Balance.
it's Jubilant. You gotta say it together, you know. And so I was like, nah, we gotta scratch that. And I actually had even merch with that brand name, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna scratch it. And so then 5G, I was actually telling one of my clients this the other day. I came up with 5G because I wanted something simple. The full name is 5G Athletics, but I know that a lot of places abbreviate their name, or people abbreviate like a name. Like, for example, 24-hour fitness, you're like, I'm going to 24, right?
Exactly.
I wanted something that people can say easily and that people can resonate with, you know. So 5G Athletics came with the 5 pillars, you know. The pillars that I have here: goals, greatness, grit, group, and glory. I was like, okay, those are 5 G's that I could stand behind, because that's what we stand by. Do a lot of group stuff, like community stuff, you know. Glory, obviously, for the glory of God, and you know, the individuals wins at the end of the day. Greatness, grit, you know, you got to have grit to get by something, and you know, and you got to put a goal out there. So that's how we came up with the 5 pillars of goals. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just name it 5G Athletics. At first I was like G5, then I was like, nah, 5G. And then my wife's like, why 5G? I was like, look at your phone, turn it on. And she's like, oh, 5G connection. And I was like, yeah, no one's gonna forget 5G. That's easy. You know, so that's how I came up with 5G Athletics.
That's awesome. See, it's so cool that, you know, even this place here has like these established pillars, you know, and that's great. Everyone coming through here is getting to, it seems like they're getting to improve, to grow, and to get better. And when they're working with somebody like you, and I'm sure all the people that are working for you and with you, This is awesome, man. So it's cool to see you build this business and to learn about your story here, man. And I think you've motivated and inspired a lot of people, both through your actions and the life you've lived. But I hope we can get this message out there to the world for people to see it, because you're living what a lot of young trainers or people in the fitness industry are trying to pursue, and you're doing it, man. You got the family supported and by your wife and by God. You're doing something for a higher purpose. You're helping people, man. That's real, bro. That's real.
Thank you.
That's what we're about, man. So as we kind of wrap things up here, I just want to say I appreciate everything, man. It was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course. And anything, where can the people find you? You guys got any promotions or anything going on at 5G?
Yeah. So you can find us at 5G_athletics. We do got some promos, so anybody who wants to start personal training or group classes, hit us up. We got 10% off of all first month programs. We also have a massage therapist on site too. That's Bijan Bryant. His Instagram is Flexion Factory. So hit him up. That is my guy. So anybody who signs up too, not just the extra 10%, you also get 20-minute free massage with him. So might as well, man. Get everything to go with it.
Hey, George is a great guy. This is an amazing place here, and absolutely come here and get your training in and get it done, and know that you're learning from the best and people who actually care. So to conclude this and to wrap it up, as we always say here, we're blessed and grateful, and let's stay the course.